I want to talk about the topic price discrimination now. On this slide, I have a basic definition of it. It says it's the practice of selling the same good at different prices to different consumers, even though the cost of producing for the two consumers are the same. So in other words, what I'm saying is like I have a good and I sell it to one customer at a price of $10 and I sell it to another customer at a price of $8. And there's no difference in cost between the two customers for me. So it costs me the same amount to make the good for both customers, but I sell the good for one price to one customer and a different price to a different customer. All right. Now, in order for price discrimination to work for a company, there have to be three things going on. Okay. And I want to talk about what's called perfect price discrimination. All right. Perfect price discrimination is where you charge each customer their exact willingness to pay. Now, remember how we figure out willingness to pay. That's on the demand curve, right? The demand curve shows us customers' willingness to pay. So perfect price discrimination would mean that, say, a customer's willingness to pay is $10, well, then I charge that customer $10. A different customer's willingness to pay is $8, so I charge that customer $8. Okay? So in order for this to work, right, first off, a company has to have some amount of market power. In other words, they have to be like a monopoly. They have to have some amount of monopoly power. They have to be able to change the price of their good. All right? Now, the ideal situation for a company would be perfect price discrimination. All right? When can this happen? It can happen when a company has some amount of market power and the company has to be able to separate customers into different demand elasticities. In other words, I need to know that if I'm going to raise the price for one customer, that they're going to continue to buy that product, right? As opposed to like if I raise the price for that customer, they won't buy it, right? So I need to know what the elasticity of demand is. And then also I need to be able to prevent resale. So I can't sell the good for $8 to the customer who's willing to pay $8 and then allow that customer to charge $9 to the customer who's willing to pay $10, right? So I got to be able to prevent resale of my product. So all of these things have to happen in order for price discrimination to work for a company. Now, two important impacts of price discrimination is that it increases monopolies' profits and it reduces the deadweight loss, all right? And I'm going to show you some examples of this in just a second on a graph, okay? And then also, it sounds kind of sketch what companies are doing. They're charging different customers different prices, but this happens all the time and you're okay with it. For example, movie tickets, all right? If you guys ever go to the movie theater and you get a discount for being a student, well, that's price discrimination, right? Because that means that you're paying less for your movie ticket than I would, even though it costs the same to show the movie to both of us, right? Airline tickets are the same way. So you and I could be sitting right next to each other on a flight, and I could pay more for the price of the ticket than you did because I bought the ticket at a different time. Coupons work this way, right? Like it costs the same to make the good for both people, but the people who cut the coupon out of the newspaper and show it, right, they're going to get a cheaper price. Financial aid to go to college is this way, right? If you qualify for financial aid and I don't, then I'm going to pay more for college than you will, even though the cost to produce college for both of us is the same. So you interact with, like, this happens to you all the time. Another simple example, you guys get student discounts to go to Pope athletic events, right? There's a student ticket and a non-student ticket. The student ticket has price discrimination, right? They charge you less than they charge me or another fan at the game. Now, the reason why you guys get a cheaper movie ticket or a cheaper ticket to a Pope football game is because your willingness to pay is lower, right? You guys, your income is much lower than mine is, right? And people are aware of that. And so therefore, your willingness to pay is lower because your income is lower, so you pay a lower price for the good, right? This happens all the time. Now, let's talk about like how this like changes outcomes on a graph for like profits and efficiency and all this other kind of stuff. So let's start off with a normal demand and marginal revenue curve for a normal monopoly. So this is a non-price discriminating monopoly here. All right, so we've done this a bunch of times already, right? The firm is going to produce where MR equals MC, okay? And they're going to go up and use the price curve to determine what people are willing to pay. So they're going to charge P1, okay? And let's say this company is making a profit. So that means the price is going to be greater than average total cost, all right? The profit for this company would be right here. It'd be from ATC up to the price, right? So it'd be this green rectangle that's being formed here. All of this green rectangle would be the profit for this company, okay? The total revenue for this company would be, and I'm not going to put it on, I'm not going to shade it in, but the total revenue, well, actually here, I will do it. I'll do it with an orange pen. This orange box, this would be the firm's total revenue, right? And then if I subtracted out the total cost, what I would be left with is that green box for the total profit. So this orange box that I'm creating here, that is the firm's total revenue. What about consumer surplus, okay? Consumer surplus is the area above price, below demand. So this red triangle right here, okay, all of that would be all of this shaded red triangle right here, all of that would be your consumer surplus. And then your deadweight loss would be, this is our socially optimal equilibrium where marginal cost equals price. So the deadweight loss would be all of this red triangle right here. Okay, so this red triangle right here is our deadweight loss. This red triangle up here is our consumer surplus. This green rectangle is our economic profits for the firm. And the orange box is our total revenue for the firm. So that's a typical monopoly, right? Now, let's talk about price discriminating monopoly, all right? Now, in a price discriminating monopoly, what you're doing, if it's perfect price discrimination, is you're charging people exactly what their willingness to pay is. Well, what tells you the willingness to pay on here? Okay? This demand curve is what shows what people are willing to pay. So what it's saying is like, if one person is willing to pay $10, I'm going to charge that person $10. If the next person is willing to pay $8, I'm going to charge that person $8, and then so on and so forth. Okay? So we still have our downward sloping demand curve just like we did before. All right, but this is where it becomes different, all right? If one person's willingness to pay is $10 and I sell it to them for $10, then I'm going to get $10 extra of revenue when I sell to that person, right? So let me say it again. That person's willingness to pay is 10, so I charge them 10. So when I sell to them, my total revenue will rise by 10. That means my marginal revenue is 10. Okay? Now up here on this graph in a traditional monopoly, if I want to sell to that person who's willing to pay 8, right? Well, then I got to lower the price for all previous units sold. That's why this marginal revenue curve is less than demand, right? So when I sell to that person for 8, the person I sold originally to for 10, I'm also selling to them for 8. But what price discrimination is going to do is going to say, no, I'm going to keep charging that person I charged 10, I'm going to keep charging them $10. And I'm going to charge my second customer only $8. So what that means is that, like, I charge my first customer, say $10 right here, I charge that second customer $8 right here. When I sell that second customer for $8, my total revenue jumps by 8. So the price that I sell to the person is 8, and then the total revenue changes by 8. So that means my marginal revenue is 8 as well. Let's say the next person is willing to pay 6, right? Then I'm going to sell to that person for 6. My total revenue is going to rise by 6, which means my marginal revenue is 6. So what I'm trying to get you to see is, when you have a perfectly price discriminating monopoly, demand now equals our marginal revenue. Okay, so this relationship up here with demand being here and equaling average revenue and price, now it's, and marginal revenue being less than demand, that's no longer the case. Now it's demand equals marginal revenue equals price. Now average revenue is not going to equal that anymore. Okay, it's going to be something different, but we're not going to worry about that. So it's just now demand equals marginal revenue equals price. All right, so what does that mean? Well, again, firm is going to produce where MR equals MC, right? So now if this is our MR curve and this is our MC curve, marginal revenue equals marginal cost at this quantity. So this is going to be the quantity that this firm produces, okay? If I go up from this quantity and hit the demand curve, the price curve right here, this price, okay, this P1 right here, this is not the same as this P1. This P1, everybody, all of my customers are paying a price of P1. But this P1, everyone's not paying P1 here. Instead, what this is this the lowest possible price that I will sell to someone. Because I'm selling everyone else, right, at their willingness to pay. I'm selling to this customer way up here at this price. I'm selling to this customer at this price, and this customer at this price, and so on and so on. And then at P1, that's the lowest possible price I will charge a customer. I won't go below that, even if their willingness to pay is below that. Okay? All right, so that's how we determine the price and quantity for this good. All right, now what about whether or not this company's making a profit? Well, as long as price is less than ATC, right, they're going to make a profit. So I'm going to put ATC right here. Price is greater than ATC. Okay, and then this is where things start to look different, all right? So let's talk about total revenue first. Price times total revenue, or price times quantity is our total revenue. Well, remember, each one of these different willingnesses to pay are different prices that I'm charging my customers. So all the way down this demand curve until we hit MR and MC right here, okay, these are all different prices that I charge my customers. All of this is the quantity that I sell. So if I do price times quantity, my total revenue is no longer a rectangle. Now it is this orange, this big orange trapezoid. Okay, all of that is my total revenue. So what you should notice, right, is that total revenue gets much larger. Before it was this, now it's all of this. Okay, what about profits? Well, profits are total revenue minus total cost. My total cost on here would be this rectangle from quantity up to average total cost, right? It'd be this blue rectangle right here. So total revenue minus total cost would equal this green trapezoid. So all of this green trapezoid right here is going to be my total profits. So it's, oh wait, sorry, all of this is going to go straight across. It's not going to include this little part down here that I accidentally colored in here. Okay, this part, this little gap here is not a part of our total profit. So it's this green trapezoid. Okay, so all of that would be profits. Now, what about deadweight loss and consumer surplus? Well, remember what consumer surplus is. Consumer surplus is your willingness to pay minus what you actually pay. Well, in this case, you're paying your willingness to pay. So all that consumer surplus that used to be up here above price and below demand, it's all gone. It's all gone to the business in the form of total revenue. What about the deadweight loss? Well, the deadweight loss, remember, is the difference between the socially optimal quantity and what we actually produce, right? Well, if you look here, we're producing the socially optimal quantity. This is where price equals marginal cost. So there is no deadweight loss here, but where's the deadweight loss gone to? It's not gone to the consumers, it's gone to the business in the form of total revenue. So that business gets all that extra total revenue from the consumer and from the deadweight loss, and they're able to increase their total profits. Now it might sound like, well, that seems like the firm is like just kind of, screwing over all their customers and they're getting all these huge gains. Well, there are gains to the customer as well, because think about this. Up here on this graph, right, all of these people whose willingness to pay was right here on this section of the graph, they weren't even going to get this good, right? This section of the graph, this willingness to pay. Well, down here, they're going to get it. So, like, there's going to be a group of customers who would not have gotten this product otherwise. So it's like you guys who, you wouldn't go to the movies if you didn't get a student discount, or you wouldn't go to the football game unless you got a student discount. The willingness to pay, the price is closer to your willingness to pay, so you get the good now. So consumers definitely get something out of this. Now, how do businesses figure out your willingness to pay, you might ask? Okay, well, the way they figure it out is they get data on you. And as technology's gotten better, companies have gotten much better at this. So, like, think, for example, Amazon. Amazon is really good at getting data on you and figuring out what your willingness to pay is. Because think about it. If you have the Amazon app on your phone and you're signed into your account, the Amazon app can look at what products you look at and how long you look at them. And they can take a guess that, like, okay, this person has looked at this product and they've looked at it for a really long time. It must mean that that person is considering buying this good. So maybe the next time you log on, maybe that product might be on sale for a little bit lower price, right? And so as a result, they get closer to your willingness to pay and you buy it. Okay, so companies can keep data on you. This is like also the same as like if you have like a Kroger card or something like that. That Kroger card, the reason why they give you discounts is because they're actually collecting data on you. They're trying to figure out what you typically purchase, and then based on that, they can decide like what they want to put on sale the next week based on what their customers are typically buying, right? And so companies that do like discount cards, that's what they use those discount cards for, is to like collect data on you and use it to determine your willingness to pay. Target, the company Target, does a very, very good job of figuring this kind of stuff out. And I've actually posted a video that I want you guys to watch, like a couple minutes video about how Target has done this with their Target app that they have on your cell phone if you use it. So take a few minutes, watch that video, and then think about like how that applies to all this stuff I just said about willingness to pay.